we are all based now, because we're using Zoom now, which is sort of a remote work tool. So it would be interesting for me to know where we are all based, how many we are. Yeah.
Thank you.
So where, that's a good question. So where is everyone? Take yourself off mute and just tell us everyone what you're talking about. Saloni, is this you? Someone is super loud right now. Yeah, can I mute everyone automatically? Okay, guys, just mute yourselves, please, if you're not speaking. Okay, where is everyone based?
So I'm based in Germany.
You're based where?
Germany.
Germany, okay. Who else? I'm based in Burkina Faso right now. Who else? Where is everyone else based? Okay.
Germany as well.
Germany? Okay, who else? Anyone not in Germany?
Ukraine.
Ukraine?
Okay.
Okay. I can't. Who is that annoying sound? Guys, who, please just mute yourselves. Who is that? Okay, that's so much better. Sorry. Okay, where is it? So we've got Germany, Burkina Faso.
UK.
Where else? UK.
Germany.
Germany, okay. Where else? Mexico, all right.
Yes, I'm here from Mexico. I'm Joel, but I'm going to mute my microphone.
Mute your mics, but when you talk, unmute it, okay? That's great. We just don't want to hear like what you're making for dinner. Or Colombia, yeah, okay. So we've got quite diverse. Is anyone here on lockdown right now? Like, is anyone not allowed to leave their house?
Yeah, I'm in NRW, so we're not under a lockdown, but we are working from home office for 1 month.
And sorry, where are you based? You said you're where?
From North Rhine-Westphalia, it's a district in Germany.
Okay. So you're not allowed to, you can't leave your house.
I can leave my house, but my company has given a home office for 1 month.
So you're working from home?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just here all the schools are closed, and now all events are cancelled, and I think from tomorrow on in the state, all the fitness studios and sports centers as well, they need to close. Yeah.
So for people who this is maybe your first time working remotely, does anyone have any questions or want to talk about challenges that you're facing kind of with the shift? Like what are you finding maybe hard about it or
I can say one good thing about it, that I'm away from all. There's so much of background noise. Yeah, I was saying I can say one good thing about remote office is that you are away from all the organizational politics.
Is that your what? Sorry.
That you are away from all the organizational politics.
Guys, can you put yourselves on mute if you're not speaking?
My network is so bad. I can't hear you so well. That's why I cannot really post a question right away.
Okay, just put yourselves on mute if you're not speaking.
No, I'm with you. I'm getting.
I think I might have muted you. So sorry, say that one more time. The part about working from home.
Yeah, so I mean, one good thing that I like is that I'm away from all the organizational politics and I can really focus on my work.
That's really interesting. So how do you feel more removed from the politics by physically not being there? What's the difference?
Yeah, when there are many people in the office, they always put it on each other. But when we are doing virtual calls, then it's one person speaking at one time, and there's a clear communication, and we can find proper owners of responsibility then.
So are you saying that it sounds like what you're maybe saying is that it's a little bit more focused on the call with maybe one person speaking at a time and less. Yeah, I don't know. Is that what it is? A little bit more focused virtually than in person?
Yes, it's a little bit more focused.
No, that's very interesting actually. What else have people noticed? Has anyone else noticed that working remotely in the past little bit? You can take yourselves off mute if you want to answer.
Hello, I'm Joel from Mexico. I just want to share that here in Mexico, our culture, I think, is not the best culture to have a home office. In some companies, they use home office since several years ago, but in some ones, it's starting just because this problem of the coronavirus. So it's difficult to start just with this problem, the home office, because it's all is a chaos.
And what is particularly hard about it, Joel? Why do you say it's not part of the culture in Mexico? What's challenging?
Because the people think it's like vacation days, and it's difficult for some people start working in their homes because also the childs or they need to do another things that they are not the working things, so they need to attend the babies or their families or something else, so it's difficult to focus on the job and not to focus on other things.
So are you saying that it's maybe a cultural thing that unless they're in the office, they're not able to like they can't be trusted necessarily to work from their home because they'll be distracted?
Yes, and they are we have very distractions in home, but also some people start doing home office in a beach in a good place, so it's not vacations, it's you need to do home office and you need to work, so but some people didn't do it.
I mean, it's interesting you say that because some of the concerns that managers have about letting people work remotely is that they feel like their teams won't work and they feel like they have to sit over them and micromanage and watch what they're doing. It's like the bums in seats, right? They need to see you physically in a chair to make sure that you're working, and that's a concern managers have. In Management 3.0, we've always said, manage the system, not the people. Give people the opportunity to thrive and trust that they will do the work. So it's interesting that you're saying that people might really be working. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, it's very difficult because I was talking about all the distraction we have in in our homes, only the TV, the YouTube, or whatever, any distraction you have. Maybe you are working in your laptop, but also watching TV and also with music and with your babies and whatever. And it's very difficult to focus on your job.
Does anyone else want to comment on what Joel said? So, I mean, Gavin, did you want to say something?
I think that it's a matter of, hi, this is Janice. I'm also from Mexico. Some companies have already started putting in test home office. Some days of the month, for example, kids don't go to school because there are some technical meetings from the schools. So we are forced to have the kids at home. Also for a mom like me, it's sometimes difficult. But I think it's just a matter of putting the experiment on, and people will get used to it. I mean, it's just a matter of changing the cultural belief that you have to be in the office to be complying with the work.
I think
I would also add one more point. When I used to work a remote office from India, my parents would always think that, yeah, I'm not working, so I'm at home, so I'm not working. And it's also a challenge if you are in families. It's difficult to explain to families as well that you are working. From home also means working.
I work from home anyway, but I can tell with a couple of my friends that the ones who are more, sort of introverted, they're actually happy about working from home now, about the opportunity to work remote. And the ones who, well, it depends on the personality as well. Like, when you work from home, you're alone, you don't have family around or so. So the more extroverted people I know would rather continue going to work and see their colleagues in person.
I think it's also a matter if the company is prepared. I think it's also a matter of having the companies be prepared to have the resources and the tools to be allowing their employees to be working from home.
Yeah. Sorry, Priyanka, continue. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello?
From India.
Sorry, who's speaking? I couldn't hear anyone. I don't know if it's my computer. Priyanka, were you? Sorry, I don't know if I missed what someone said, but one question on the, how do you, it's a good point about people not thinking that you're actually working, family or friends. How do you sort of overcome that? I mean, has anyone come up with a method or said something to family or friends that, you're actually working and you need to work rather than them thinking you're on vacation?
For example, for my kids, he's a 4-year-old, so it's difficult to tell him that I'm working. because he just wants me to be there with him when he sees me at home. But I have come up to, for example, arrange all meetings at some time that I know that he's gonna be doing some things like watching a movie or looking or working in the Legos or being distracted with something. So I can just try to couple the time with my meetings and my calls and whatever activities I have to do.
And has that worked? Does he seem to understand that a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. Anyways, I have to tell when I'm in call. Sometimes I have to tell, sorry, I have my 4-year-old here. So, and everyone is kind of understanding. I mean, especially those who are parents, right? Because they understand the situation. But sometimes it's like it's a little less empathic for people who doesn't have kids or have not kids around, like nephews or you know. But yeah, most of all, people is understanding. So yeah.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I know a lot of schools right now, most schools around the world are closing, or not most, but many. How are you guys, those of you who are parents, how are you coping with that in terms of working remotely and balancing the children? Because I don't have children, but I wonder what are people expected to do with their kids right now?
Yeah, for example, in my case, we are just gonna get started because the lockdown started this. I mean, official authorities just said today that tomorrow we will start. Today was a holiday in Mexico, so that was fortunate. But everyone, it's like, okay, now the governments are saying that schools are gonna be closed until the next April the 20th. So as moms during the weekend, you know, in the WhatsApp groups for moms and things like that, we are sharing resources like have these coloring pages for you to print and to have your kid entertained, ideas of activities. So today I just put in like a little scheduled plan to be doing activities with my kids, and some of them involve like just letting them, you know, like choose music and put the music on whatever they want, and for them to be just entertaining in there. But it's gonna be hard. I think we are gonna just go through the experiment and see how that works. But I think companies will have to have this understanding, right? I mean, it's not like our fault. So it's for national security in reality and global security, if you want to see it like that.
Is anyone who is yeah, no, and those are great points. Thank you for sharing that. Is anyone who is shifted from working in an office to working remotely, thinking that this actually is the way you would like to continue, like post-corona, you're thinking this is how it should be? There's a lot of talk right now about how this will change the face of working in general. So I'm curious, has anyone shifted for the first time and is thinking that you don't want to go back?
I would definitely like to go back to work simply because I like to meet my colleagues. But yeah, this experiment itself is helpful to understand that we don't really need to work in an office. So just for work, I don't mind working from remote or working from office, but yeah, I would like to meet my colleagues from time to time.
Well, that's an interesting point too, because I think a lot of people find that the remote working can potentially be isolating. So yeah, are you finding that this shift is a bit isolating because you're used to seeing colleagues and now you're not, and anything you're doing to combat that, any tools that you'd want to share?
Yeah, you can use your camera. Have the camera always on. So this helps a bit, at least. And I guess all in Germany, especially the bigger companies who currently say there is no home office, you need to stay at the office. They now learn that it's perfectly okay if colleagues work from home from time to time. So I guess it's loosening a bit the older or the former thinking. So the change in mindset, in my opinion.
Actually, I hope that more companies are going to change their mindset after this crisis, because now it seems like the companies who never looked into remote working or never found it important or considered it as an important option are now not doing so well, because they didn't invest in laptops, for instance. Now they can't have their colleagues come into work, but they can't have them work from home either. So now, so the problems for them are now a lot bigger than for the companies who were prepared for remote work, I feel like.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and I think that this shift, it's going to be quite a shift for companies to kind of revisit how they've been doing things all along. I mean, are you seeing something of like a hybrid that could be good in the future, half work from office, half work from home, being able to sort of choose? Or do you think that could maybe be messy also for companies kind of never knowing when someone's in the office or not? Would there need to be rules, I guess, surrounding this? Or do you think that companies should just be more flexible in general?
I think the company should allow for the employees to choose to choose if they want to have a home office option or if they don't, and then it should be up to the teams to discuss when and how many home office days are okay for the team to take. Because let's say one person isn't in the office on Monday, then the other isn't there on Tuesday, so and so on. So then maybe there's no day at all where everybody's there. So I think that should be up to the teams, but the general opportunity to work remotely should be given by the employer, I think.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I think these things need to be discussed. And Sven, going back to one thing you had said before about turning the camera on, just to reiterate that point, working remotely like we do on Management 3.0, it was one of the biggest things that we do. I know I'm not turning the video on now, it's just because of my bandwidth, but turning the video on is very important. It allows that face-to-face connection. It really makes a difference, especially when you feel sort of cut off from everyone. Priyanka can't speak, so she typed. I'm going to just read out. She said, working is totally dependent on personal thoughts. Those who want to do the job, they can communicate anywhere, but sometimes it's not possible due to circumstance. So I guess, what are people's thoughts on that? That it's not always possible to work remotely? I mean, do you think it's always possible to work remotely, or do you think there are going to be some situations where you do need to have face-to-face?
Yeah, it depends. So some of my colleagues have a hard time to work from home because they have technical equipment that they need for their daily work and they can't take it home. So this is kind of, they have to the tasks, working some thing at home and then taking the results, go back to the company, being kind of lonely, only one or two in the office, but use the technical equipment to kind of check if they developed the things right, and then back home again. So that's the situation in our company.
So it's a little bit like you do need to go in from time to time. I mean, right now, Sven, are you working from home completely? Did your company switch to completely from home?
Not yet, but I guess at the end of the week, latest next week, this will be the case. And most of the people are at home or work from home. So for me, it's not a problem because I'm not a technician. But all the colleagues who do the technical development, they kind of have this how to call it, well, this problematic situation, and they need to decide how much time they will stay at home and how much time they go to the office.
And I'm just looking at a comment here from Joel. Joel, although you should be able to speak now, he said he's working agile frameworks, and these frameworks are much better face-to-face. Now with the coronavirus, we have an issue. So Joel, can you speak? Because I think this is interesting. I think other people, I've heard differently actually. Are you able to talk?
Yes, I'm able to talk. I just want to share this issue I have with my teams because we are promoting the agile culture and the agile mindset with these teams, but we are working face to face with each others with the communications because it's difficult in this team and in this company to promote this culture. But now with the coronavirus issue, it's going to be a completely mess, or it's going to be more difficult for us to promote this culture and to have the results that we need to have in this project. So I don't know if someone of you have this kind of experience, how to have any options for solve it.
Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a matter of adaptation, right? Because I mean, it's just finding, like Sven mentioned, the measure that you need the people to be working remotely and working in person, face to face, to get the work done, right? To have the speed that you used to have, or at least with the less impact to have the outcomes that you want to have. But yeah, I think that in this new mindset of going agile for many companies, especially in the IT industry, face to face is the best, but we also need to adapt whenever that is not possible. In many companies, we have people working in different countries for the same project, so you have to adapt to those circumstances and find a way. I think that that's where your creativity really comes out because you have to find a way to make this work, right? I think that is.
Yes, I completely agree, but maybe I not explained well. It's very difficult to promote the communication between each others in the face-to-face, in the same room, in the same office. It's very difficult to promote this kind of communication. Hey, you need to stand up and go for help a few desks ago from you. And now it is difficult in the office to promote the communication. How I'm going to be able or creatively to make this communication happens, but remote. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Maybe I also have one suggestion over there. I also work with a lot of remote teams, and worked as Scrum Master also for remote teams. It always helps if people are together. If not, we also have to inculcate this thing, enforce this thing again and again, that we need to talk to each other and collaborate better. But also there are a lot of digital collaboration tools as well, which can be used for agile meetings, for example. If you use digital tools like Jira, and for example, for retrospectives, I used to run remote retrospectives using there's a collaborative tool called Padlet for collecting information, and yeah, it worked very nicely for me.
Okay, thank you.
Did you find that helpful, Joel, or does it raise more questions for you?
Well, I'm just trying to figure it out how to help the teams with this coronavirus thing and make the things happen in the project. But this option that someone said about the retrospective, I think is a good option. And we are also working with Jira and Confluence, and we are trying to support with Jira, Confluence, and also Microsoft Teams to make it happen. But I think it's going to be a big challenge, but we are going to try, and maybe in the next webinar or in another webinar, we can share this experience.
Yeah. Someone just said, please share the link for the Palith software. So if anyone wants to put that in the chat, that would be great. It seems like there's some interest in that. Speaking of, there it is, Padlet. Speaking of software and tools, are there other tools that people are using that they'd want to share that they think are useful when working remotely? Tools or practices?
Yeah, the social tools. So even if you are kind of divided by distance, we should not be divided in the social way. So kind of checking in the morning or checking out when you go with the team, even if it's remotely, it's kind of a normal human behavior. So if you go to the office, then you say hey to everybody, and if you leave, you say goodbye. And doing this in a remote team will help or helps. So as far as I'm concerned, to nurture the relationship, even if you can't use the camera due to bandwidth and so on. But even if you have only a chat, so not speaking, only text, this helps to support, to give you support or show your support to each other.
That's Sven, that's a very good point. And I just wanted to add something to that we started doing something on our team. We have in Slack, we have a channel called Mood. And so we've just started every morning, everyone kind of putting an emoji of what mood they're in. And we didn't have it before, but it's kind of opened the door for if someone's in a bad mood that day, if they're sick, sometimes you don't always ask your colleague remotely how they're feeling, but this just gives people an opportunity to sort of say if something's going on very simply, and then people can kind of follow up and say, oh, hey, why the sad face? Why the sick face? So that's something that we've started that's actually been quite useful as an exercise. I'm just going to...
Thank you. Cool.
Yeah,
that's a cool thing.
Yeah, it is. We tried it as an experiment. We weren't quite sure if it would work, but it's been good. Okay, there's another comment by Anya in the chat. Do you all think infrastructure in your country is good enough for everyone to work remotely? That's a good question. I think Germany is very much behind in terms of digitalization. There are still many areas that do not have good Wi-Fi or phone signal at all. In Germany, yeah, that baffles me actually. But that's a very good question. Everyone, what do you feel about that? Are your countries built for remote working?
Not everywhere. One clear example here in Mexico, for example, is the schools. One of the most prestigious private schools in Mexico are ready to do this turn off of having on-site classes, and they just turned off. I mean, they sent a communication out that everyone should suspend any activity in the campus, and they were already pulling out the platform to be having the online classes. But it's not the same case for all the schools, for example, all the universities. So I think it depends on, well, this is a clear example of a private school and a public school, but I think it's the same from the resources that the companies have. If it's an international company, probably they will have these tools and the infrastructure to be facing this kind of contingencies. but many local companies probably are not ready and were not prepared. I believe that's the case, at least in Mexico.
And do you, how much work would it be to shift this to, to get them prepared, or is this something that is going to take years? Like, just because Corona's happening, do you see companies, governments moving into gear to make this easier, or not necessarily?
I think it will depend on the impact. I'm not sure if they have already taken into consideration the economic impact that this could have. And I'm not pretty sure that they are really aware of the high importance of having this kind of budget set to technology, to development of new infrastructure and all of that. I think that in many places, maybe it will be a matter of just doing the, like the fireman work, like just putting away the fires. But in some others, I think it's gonna take more. I'm not sure if years, but maybe months, yes. But I mean, that will be out of the, it won't matter much at that time.
No, it's very good insight on that. Okay, we have another couple minutes left, and there's an urgent question here from, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry if not. How can we manage daily stand-up meetings in Agile remotely? Please, really need advice on that. Who can help? Can anyone have advice on this? Managing daily stand-up meetings in Agile remotely.
We do it usually. We have a home office policy also at work, so sometimes people are also doing home office, but they still join daily stand-ups. In one of the team, how I do it is usually, since we have a digital board on Jira, I share the screen and then we have the discussion around our sprint board, what is in progress, if there are any blockers. So that way it helps us being more focused on the sprint iteration. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, I could add to this. We also have digital boards, and when we do the dailies remotely, then everybody is on his desk or on his PC or laptop. So it's not a group in one room and another lonely person in the home office, but it's for everybody the same situation then. And we have a kind of rotating talking stick. So everybody has the screen on the board, and then we use the mouse to show who's about to talk, and it's when one has finished, then he says so I'm finished or I'm done or whatever, and then the next takes over, and it works, at least for the teams I had the opportunity to work with, fine. And the questions stay the same. So all the 3 questions concerning the sprint aim and the aim of the product. So that stays the same.
No, that's really good advice. Does that help a little bit, Chouanga, Frank? I don't know which one you go by. Okay, let's hope that does. Okay, is there anyone else who has, we have another 3 minutes, one last question or thought or advice or anything anyone wants to say? This has been a really, really interesting discussion. I'm really happy everyone's participated, so thank you. Anything else anyone wants to say or share?
I could recommend people to also set the boundaries, because when you are at home, sometimes it's difficult to set the boundary on when you finish the work, and sometimes you just get pulled into, you know, the activity and the flow, and you don't realize that at some point it's already 9 p.m. So it's just like something that has worked for me, just to set up an alarm or something on when to stop. I mean, just when you have finished your work, obviously, and don't let yourself just by thinking that you are at home, you need to keep on working.
I also want to add that maybe this is not a problem or an issue. It's a very big opportunity for all the world to adapt the home office in different kind of companies. It doesn't matter if there are big companies or with less resources, but it's a big opportunity to do it and promote this kind of collaboration.
Yeah, excellent. That's excellent feedback. Both pieces. That's really, really good. All right, guys, this has been great. This has really been one of our most, Anya just added, I think I agree. I think remote working training could be helpful for people who struggle with change. Yeah, and just so there are tons and tons of people who focus on remote working. Our former colleague of ours she runs a company called Collaboration Superpowers. I mean, there's tons of resources, and also at Management 3.0, we talk about this a lot. So I was going to say, if anyone wants to continue this conversation, I don't know how many of you are members of our supporter program. I'll just paste the link here. But we have a program where you pay a yearly subscription. It's not that much, but you have access to our Slack channel and lots of our content, which talks about a lot of this. And pretty much you can have this conversation that we just had now on the Slack channel. You can ask questions. So just for anyone who's interested in continuing this conversation with a group of people like this, we have an option for that. But I just really want to thank you. This has been a really great conversation. Thanks for participating. Thanks for going with the change and being adaptable. And yeah, I think it's a time where everyone needs to really come together and help each other out. And so we're here for you on that front. So yeah, thank you. And we do have another seminar next month. Hopefully our guest will not be needing to help elderly people deal with Corona, but let's see how it goes. If not, we'll just do something else like this. All right, everyone have a good evening or a good day wherever you are, and stay healthy and safe.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.